Alright guys, what are Floriental fragrances? In today's video, I'm going to discuss this particular genre, style of perfumery, and I'm going to give you 16 options that are Floriental or fall under the Floriental fragrances category. So if you like this idea of fragrances that are floral and also oriental, which are known as Florientals or floral oriental fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about Floriental fragrances. It's a style that I've come to love, as I've always loved Oriental fragrances. The warm and spicy, resinous and ambery, musky, woody fragrances. And then if you combine them with, flowers, that's pretty much what you get. Flowers such as roses, lily of the valley, gardenia, tuberose, jasmine, ylang-ylang, mimosa, and more. So those are what Floriental fragrances are. And I'm going to discuss with you this particular topic and then also give you 16 options. I'm going to try and do this video as quick as possible as well. And so if you're not into longer videos, because this will be a longer topic, then maybe just skip ahead to the next video. But before I get to the fragrances and the discussion of this particular topic of Floriental fragrances, if you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So how many of you are fans of this particular style? Let me ask you, how many of you enjoy floral fragrances and how many of you enjoy oriental fragrances? And so do you know the differences between these two styles? I have a full video on the channel of oriental fragrances. If you want to find out what it is, please go ahead and check. But I wanted to cover this topic because, there are a lot of fragrances that are oriental fragrances that also lean floral. So obviously that's where we get. They're combining two different fragrance families, floral fragrances with oriental fragrances. And as I said, oriental fragrances are those warm and spicy fragrances that would typically have vanilla. They would typically have ambers, honey, musk. They're also, combining oud, resins, benzoin. Those are basically what oriental fragrances are. And typically these notes that I just told you about end up in the base notes. And then finally, when you combine them with the floral fragrances, and those are basically just floral fragrances that feature flowers, I was trying to make sure this video is not focusing on rose and oud because those typically end up going into the Floriental direction, but there are a few fragrances that have roses in the notes. But I wanted to feature fragrances that also feature tuberose, jasmine, gardenias, lily of the valley, magnolia, ylang-ylang, mimosa, and more. There's lots of other flowers. And these are the flowers that end up either in the top notes, most of the time in the heart notes. And of course the oriental fragrances with the oriental notes I said are typically found in the base notes, and then they combine these two together to create an oriental floral or a Floriental fragrance. So they're very easy to understand this particular group of fragrances, and it was something that I needed to do because a few of you did ask me what this particular style is and which fragrances I would recommend. So I'm going to recommend 16 fragrances for you, and these are fragrances that I really, really love. I do really love this genre. I mean, of course I love oriental fragrances, as I said, ambers, vanillas, all those things, but when you combine them with floral fragrances, they end up being, a little different. Two different styles together make for a wonderful, concoction in the end. Guys, I have one more thing to say. There's a fragrance out there from the House of Comme des Garçons called Floriental. Sadly, I do not own it. And it wasn't one of my favorite fragrances when I had sampled it several years ago when it first launched. Perhaps I'll get it in the future, but for this particular video, I do not own Floriental. But I do have some great Floriental fragrance options for you in today's video. Alright, we're going to start off with this first one that I think is on its way out. So it's another Tom Ford fragrance that has seen discontinuation, but I was going to originally feature Black Orchid, which actually is an oriental floral fragrance, but I felt like this offspring or flanker of Black Orchid called Orchid Soleil is even a more oriental floral or Floriental fragrance, because this one has chock full of oriental notes. Oriental notes such as whipped cream has also come up in this fragrance. I didn't mention that as a note. It doesn't really come up too often, but when you see something like this, typically it's found in the base notes, and it typically goes into that Oriental direction. Obviously they have vanilla as well, but there's also chestnuts, and now we have tuberose's lily featured in here, and then there's some citruses of bitter orange, some spices of pink pepper, patchouli, and cypress notes. So in the end, it's a nice meshing of you know, the flowers, which is the tuberose and lily, with the warm notes of the whipped cream, of course the chestnut and the vanilla. For me, it's kind of suntan lotiony, and I think it's off of not smelling like black or orchid too much. Oh, I did mention there is an orchid note apparently in here as well, according to the notes, and that's the inspiration, Orchid Soleil. But it's a sunshiny kind of a warm fragrance, so that's why it kind of reminds me a little bit of suntan lotion and things like that, because of some of the notes in here. But it's a great scent. Really do enjoy this one, and it's Orchid Soleil from Tom Ford. A great Floriental fragrance. So this next one is from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI, BOREA. So BOREA is another Floriental fragrance, or Oriental Floral, combining notes of coconut, vanilla, jasmine, tuberose, honeysuckle, rose, almonds, sandalwood, and musk. So musk typically is featured as a note in Floriental fragrances, or Oriental fragrances I should say, that it appears in the base notes typically. There's the vanilla, of course, but this one also has coconut. It doesn't go into the suntan lotiony section or, you know, side of fragrances, but just because it has coconut. Sometimes when I see coconut appear in fragrances, they do, but this one doesn't. This one actually gets powdery to me, and I think musk fragrances definitely go powdery, and this one has a lot of musk in the notes as well. But it's coconuts, jasmine, vanilla, tuberose, honeysuckle, rose, almonds, sandalwood, and musk. Kind of sort of hints at another fragrance that's going to come up in a little bit as well. But you know, when you combine the jasmine and tuberose, honeysuckle and rose with the warmer notes, basically creates a wonderful Floriental for you. So it's BOREA from the house of TIZIANA TERENZI. Now this next one is one of my ultimate favorite fragrances. It's a fragrance for life kind of a fragrance. It's Intense Cafe from MONTALE. So here it doesn't really have, I should take that back. It does have coffee, but for me the coffee is not so strong. The more I wear it, the less coffee I experience in this fragrance. I don't know why, but vanilla, rose, floral notes, coffee, white musk, and amber is basically what we get here. The floral notes, most likely they're like, you know, nondescript flowers that they're using. Could be, you know, things like jasmine, lily of the valley, magnolia, tuberose, and things like that. But lots of rose in this one, with that, you know, somewhat of a coffee kind of a type note with amber and white musk. Basically it creates for me it creates something like a vanillic rosy latte with light coffee and milkiness. So there's some lactonic qualities, but a beautiful, really, really beautiful Floriental for me. This is MONTALE's Intense Cafe, if you don't know it. So this next one is another favorite of mine. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance I first discovered way early on in the journey of perfume reviewing. It's from the house of FREDERIC, and it's a Portrait of a Lady, this one right here. So this one is a Floriental, a floral oriental or Oriental floral fragrance with lots of rose. And I think the main floral note is the rose. And as I said, I was trying to eliminate this video becoming mostly about rose, but I did want to feature this one because in the end, it's definitely an Oriental floral or Floriental fragrance with lots of rose, patchouli, musk. There's some amber, benzoin, but raspberry comes in, incense, and musk, sandalwood comes in as well. Gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. Very, very long lasting, very spicy, very patchouli-esque, very incensey, and with those fruity touches. Beautiful, very, very gorgeous fragrance from FREDERIC that is definitely the Floriental direction. So that's Portrait of a Lady from the house of FREDERIC. And the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is from the house of Strangelove, New York, NY, and it's Lost in Flowers. And here we got a really beautiful Oriental with lots of flowers. Obviously it's a Floriental, but the flowers here featured in this fragrance, one of the main notes is champaka. It's a flower, it's a yellow flower, but it also has additional flowers such as jasmine, lily of the valley, with saffron, and then there's of course some oud, musk, sandalwood, and a little bit of gardenia as well. For me, this is a tropicalesque Oriental floral or Floriental fragrance, and it definitely is really warm. It's a warm kind of fragrance, and as I said earlier, warm notes, not Florientals, but Oriental fragrances are typically warm, but they're somewhat freshened up with the floral notes in here. But this one is an overall warm fragrance. It's a little humid. You can experience the humidity, and I think that's kind of why I kind of associate it with being on the tropicalesque side. So it's that kind of a fragrance. It's not necessarily beachy, but just a warm and humid flowers. If you've ever been, I don't travel to a lot of humid places, warm places, but you know, when you travel to those kind of places, you can smell the flowers in the air because of the warmth of the humid air, you know? So you experience that here. It's a very, very warm and not spicy, but very warm and floral fragrance from Strangelove, New York, Lost in Flowers. If you like floral fragrances, tropicalesque, that one's definitely one for you to try. This next one is a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance targeted to ladies from AMOUAGE, but I think it's very unisex for me. It's Portrayal Woman. AMOUAGE's Portrayal Woman, I find it to be a great, great scent. It features lots of jasmine with vanilla, tobacco, and elemi resins. So it's absolutely a Floriental, and you know, the jasmine is pretty strong. It's potent, it's intense with lots of vanilla, and the tobacco comes in. So I think it tones down the floralcy, the pungent qualities of the jasmine to kind of give it a more of a unisex type of a fragrance rather than leaning ultra feminine, because jasmine can smell feminine to me. I love the way it smells, but here the tobacco is toning it down. Of course, there's that elemi resin in here as well, so it makes for a great, great fragrance. I actually turned this on to an older woman, not this year, obviously not since the pandemic, but she was visiting me here in my studio, and I was showing her some fragrances, and we were going through fragrances, and she totally fell in love with this one, and she ended up ordering a bottle. I'm surprised at how many people really end up liking this one. And for me, it really does kind of go on the unisex side. So check it out if you don't know it. A great Floriental from the house of AMOUAGE's Portrayal Woman. This next one is absolutely a gorgeous floral fragrance, a floral Oriental or Floriental. It's a mouthful to say them back to back. This is Rosendo Matu's number 5. So this one is an amber, and ambers are Oriental fragrances, obviously. Ambers or amber styles of fragrances do get categorized as an Oriental, and I love these kind of warm ambery notes. It's lots of it here, but this one also has exotic flowers. It has lily of the valley, and then of course it has spices, amber, musk, vanilla, carnation. What a gorgeous fragrance. I love wearing this. It's musky, it's floral, it's warm and spicy. A great, great potion or concoction. I absolutely love it. It's probably one of the best fragrances from this house. It's just really to die for kind of beauty. And I love that whole combination of those warm vanillic ambery notes with the flowers, you know? Just makes for a great concoction. So that's Rosendo Matu number 5. If you don't know that one, please do check it out. Now this next one is from the house of Zoologist Perfumes. It's B. So this is a beautiful, really warm and gooey Floriental fragrance, and this one actually has loads of honey or royal jelly with mimosa. Now mimosa has this very kind of like sugar, baby, powdery kind of a smell. I do have a full video on mimosa fragrances. Sadly, this one's not on here because I never had it at the time. You can go catch that video to find out more about the mimosa fragrances, but loads of mimosa here with heliotrope. So there's some powdery touches here. There's some broom, another flower, and then of course orange blossom. So in the end, lots of flowers with the honey, which is a warm and oriental note, a royal jelly, and then of course we're throwing in some benzoin. There's some vanilla, tonka, and sandalwood as well. This is such a gorgeous fragrance. Just like this is my favorite Rosendo Matu fragrance, this one's my favorite Zoologist Perfumes. It's absolutely delicious. And I love these kind of notes. You guys know that I love warm notes, oriental notes, and this one makes for a great Floriental. So that's Zoologist Perfumes B. This next one is from the house of MEMO Paris. This is SINTRA, a recent release, and I love this one because once again we've got orange blossom neroli, citrus flowers, meshed with vanilla and marshmallows. So oriental notes, sweet notes, gourmand notes, and then the floral notes together. So beautiful Floriental or Oriental floral fragrance. But this one also features petitgrain, and then it's the citrus green leaves from the orange tree. So when you've actually taken that leaf and smelled it, you definitely pick it up here. It's a nice contrast to the warm notes of the marshmallows and the vanilla and the floral notes of the orange blossom and neroli. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. There's also musk in here, so it's a little bit on the musky side. And if you've been a fan of by Kilian's Love and you're kind of disappointed at its reformulation, this is a great alternative. I have a video about this fragrance on the channel and some additional alternatives to by Kilian's Love, Don't Be Shy. Go check that out. But either way, this is MEMO Paris Sintra. Next, going to a house called the Harmonist, and this is Moon Glory, another Floriental, powdery, really sweet, and you know, I'm picking up baby powdery kind of elements in here because it's got lots of honey, an oriental note. But it's got lots of jasmine, there's some ylang-ylang, there's some passion flower, orchid, cactus, sandalwood, Peru balsam, hinoki. So hinoki is a cypress, Japanese cypress. Peru balsam is another note that's found in Oriental fragrances. It's a balsam that's usually featured in the base notes. It's not one of the more popular notes that I didn't mention it earlier, but it's typically found in Oriental fragrances. It's a warm and gooey, sort of like ambery and resinous balsamic kind of a note. It's beautiful here. This is a really beautiful powdery fragrance. Honeyed. I pick up lots of honey. It's like hitting me in the face. I guess it can go into a direction of this kind of fragrance as well, but they're not identical. It's just, if you like this, you should check this one out. Again, it's powdery, it's baby powdery, honeyed kind of a thing. So that's the Harmonist, and it's called Moon Glory. If you don't know it, do check it out. This next one is from the house of Parfums d'Ucita, and this is La Douceur de Siam. So this one's a beautiful, another tropicalesque Floriental. So this one features rose, champaca flower. It's, as soon as I see the champaca flower, or even frangipani, which is also here, for me it goes into the tropical direction. This one also has ylang-ylang, so that's also tropical for me. So in the end, it's a kind of a Floriental in the tropical side, but this one actually is not so deep and rich. It has cloves, it has vanilla, it has amber, it has sandalwood, but there's something fresh about it, and I think there's violet leaves listed as notes. Violet leaves adds kind of an ozonic, fresh, watery quality. In the end, it's not so heavy, rich, and deep, and dark and dense kind of a fragrance, but it's a beautiful Floriental that I really, really love. La Douceur de Siam from the house of Parfums d'Ucita is a great, great scent. And I spoke about this earlier. This is Rolling in Love from the house of by Kilian. So here we have a Floriental, a beautiful, beautiful Floriental. Tuberose, vanilla, almonds, ambrette, iris, freesia, tonka beans, and musk. You know, you've got the tuberose and freesia as the notes. Lots of vanilla with almonds in here as well. Tonka beans come in as well, so it's slightly nutty. It's almondy, of course, but the white flowers totally pop in here. But you know what? Once again, just like La Douceur de Siam from Parfums d'Ucita, the actual composition doesn't feel heavy or weighty like some of the previous fragrances that I was discussing. This is actually easier to wear, I should say. Now, that's if I say it's easy to wear for me, might be difficult for someone else, but for me, these are definitely on the lighter side of fragrances, as in they're not weighty, dense, heavy fragrances. But either way, this is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous fragrance with lots of beautiful almondy, contrasted jasmine and freesia notes. So that is by Kilian's Rolling in Love. I was almost going to say Love, Don't Be Shy. Moving forward to the house of Parfums de Marly. This is Cassili from Parfums de Marly, and this one's a beautiful Floriental with lots of fruits. So in the end, this one kind of goes into the fruity floral direction in addition to the Floriental, and I think it just it's a toss-up because it has fruits in it, plums, and it also has red currants. So those pop. You can totally smell those notes, but lots of floral notes. Frangipani is the tropical flower. So yeah, it does have a slight tropical-esque quality to it. Tonka beans, vanilla, those are the oriental notes. Floral notes, Petalia, Mimosa, powdery, a little kind of like baby powdery a smell with rose and sandalwood in the end. I don't think this one is as popular as Delina, and I almost featured Delina Exclusive, but in the end I felt like this is more of a Floriental than Delina Exclusive because I just wanted a lot more warm notes for it to act like a Floriental. Either way, Parfums de Marly's Cassili is a great Floriental fragrance that you should check out if you don't know it. Alright, this next one's a gorgeous, gorgeous scent from the house of Nishane, and I think it makes a great layering tool for their Hachivat fragrance. This is 100 Silent Ways, wonderful Floriental, beautiful vanillic fragrance with loads of gardenia, tuberose, some slight fruitiness from peaches, you know, creamy sandalwood in the base, like powderiness from orris, jasmine, and mandarin. Gorgeous scent. This is probably definitely a top 5 Nishane for me. I really, really love this one. I just love that whole warmth. You know, the sandalwood pops, the vanilla pops, the gardenia pops. Love it. If you don't know it, do check it out. And as I said, I think it makes for a great layering tool with Nishane's Hachivat. In fact, I have a video talking about how they layer if you are curious to learn more about it. So that's 100 Silent Ways from Nishane. Do check it out if you don't know it. This next one's from the house of Fragrance du Bois, and this is Ujan Intense. Total Floriental. This one for me also is on the tropical side. It goes a little tropical, but major Floriental. Slightly fruity as well. TR flower, fruity notes. I shouldn't say slightly. I think there's definitely lots of fruity notes because in addition to the fruity notes like plums and things like that, there's also pineapple here. Ylang-Ylang, floral, jasmine, floral notes. In addition to those 2 floral notes, some vanilla, some amyl salicylate, oud, orange blossom, and musk. A gorgeous scent. For me, it has oud, but it's not so oudy, you know? Oud is like in the background. It's like a distant relative in this fragrance because it tries to kind of like mingle with every other note. It doesn't really accomplish it, so they left it in the back because for me this one's mostly about a tropical, very warm and humid, sort of like this one right here, Lost in Flowers, but definitely warm, humid, tropical-esque, fruity, floral, Floriental kind of a fragrance, if that makes sense, because it has a vanillic notes. It has some additional notes like oud and musk. This definitely is a beautiful, beautiful Floriental from the house of Fragrance du Bois. If you don't know it, do check it out. It's Oud Jaune Intense. And last but not least, number 16, and this is not a ranked video, guys. I'm talking about a fragrance from a house called M. Mikolov, and this is Ylang in Gold. So this is an interesting fragrance. If you guys don't know this fragrance, it's sadly I've used up quite a bit of it, but it's like, look at this. Too bad it's not a full bottle to present what it looks like, but there's like a residue of some kind in here, as you can see in the bottom. And if I shake it off, it comes off and gets mixed in with juice. So this is Ylang in Gold, probably one of my favorite fragrances from M. Mikolov. It's this very, very warm, very, very floral, Floriental fragrance or Oriental floral fragrance from M. Mikolov. Lots of vanilla here, lots of coconut. And when you hear the word Ylang in Gold, I just totally translates the name of the fragrance into what you're going to get. It's all about Ylang-Ylang in Gold. For me, that's the color of vanilla, warm Oriental fragrances. So it's a great, great representation of a Oriental floral or Floriental fragrance. So as I said, it has vanilla, there's coconut, there's musk, sandalwood, and there's loads of fruity touches with peaches and lychee, but of course Ylang-Ylang is present as well here with some magnolia and rose. Beautiful scent. It's really dense, it's thick, it's heavy, it's a very, very warm, it's a very, very sweet floral fragrance. So if you like that kind of a thing and you like to be mesmerized by the way this thing kind of like you know, settles in the bottle, then definitely you should check out Ylang-Ylang from the house of M. Mikolov. Again, as I said, it's beautiful. It's my favorite fragrance from this house. One of my favorites, I should say. I don't speak too much about this house, but perhaps I should do a full review of this. But a beautiful, very, very beautiful fragrance with a gorgeous juice inside this bottle. As I said, you can be totally mesmerized with this thing, you know, moving around in this bottle when it's a full bottle. Either way, M. Mikolov's Ylang-Ylang is my 16th and final Floriental option in this video. Guys, do you know these fragrances? Do you have any of these fragrances, or have you been eyeing any of these fragrances? Let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. Also, let me know if you're a fan of Florientals or just floral fragrances or Oriental fragrances. Put some comments down and find out. If you have any other Floriental suggestions, do let me know. I'd love to find out what they are. But let me know, as I said, if you like these fragrances and if you own them, or if you've been eyeing them, and if you didn't know about them and you just heard me talk about the fragrances, what do you think about them and which one sounds great to you? Put some comments down so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.